Okay, okay, guys, let's get started again with chapter 4. And today we're going to talk about the party structure. Let me share that screen with you. There it is. So in your PowerPoint, you'll see that again we have the party and the electorate. That's you and I. We're the voters, and so we are the ones who, on the first Tuesday in March of an even-numbered year, go out and vote. That's you and I. Now, that's set down by law. That's where the law comes in. And we do hold runoffs if they're necessary, if somebody doesn't get 50% plus one vote of the electorate. Those are held the first Tuesday in April. Now, the COVID kind of screwed things up. They had to be pushed back, I think, till June or something like that, I can't remember, but traditionally that's when they're going to be held. Now, in past times, they've been held as late as June, July, August, but the last 50 years they've been held since March. And any registered voter may vote, and you just go up, and in Texas now you have to prove you're a registered voter by showing it some kind of identification. A student ID, I think, even would be all right, but usually they use driver's licenses. I think you might have to use driver's licenses, so don't quote me on the student ID. The party nominee for the general elections are selected, so this is the first step in going on to the general election, which is coming up in November. And also the precinct chair and the county chair are elected. Now, that's something you probably don't pay attention to. If you straight ticket vote, then you vote for the Democrat chair automatically or the Republican chair automatically. But sometimes they're contested, like the Democrat Party chair was contested this last March. And a new one was, I think it was Sylvia Trevino was elected the county chair. And they're given duties as indicated in that blue box on the right. They're elected by all the voters in the county, and they may be elected by write-in votes. And they sit on the county executive committee with the county chair presiding and the precinct chairs. Now, at the same time, we also choose precinct chairs. Precinct chairs are elected by voters in the precincts in primary elections, and they may be elected by write-in votes. So that's part of the permanent, but let's go over also the temporary party organization. That's the left side, the green boxes. And that's when we participate in primaries and conventions, basically. Or caucuses. And basically, a caucus is just a meeting. A primary is when you go to vote at the voting booths. So members of the major political party, we go between, 7 and 8 in the evening, I believe, and we vote. And then there are precinct conventions. We'll go into those in a moment. But these primary and conventions are where the major political parties select candidates. And the events are temporary. Once that election's over at 8 o'clock, that's it, it's done. At the county and state conventions, we adopt platforms, and they last 2 or 3 days, and then they're done. So they're just temporary. So we'll talk about them in more detail. But essentially, the 3 green boxes on your left side of your screen in your book on page 143 are a good way to start studying for this next quiz, which will be on Saturday. So make sure you study that box. I think that'll help you. A platform is, again, just a statement of ideas. Sometimes it's called a resolution, but it sets the party's positions on current issues. Taxes, fracking, abortion, whatever it is, gun control, those kinds of things. Okay, well, then let's go into the temporary party organization specifically. And let's start off with the lowest levels, the precinct conventions, those lower two green boxes. Now, precinct conventions in Texas, they are again on Tuesday in March, the first Tuesday, and the state executive committee, they set the rules to determine the time and place for precinct conventions, whether the party will hold them separate from county or senatorial conventions. Sometimes they're held together with the county conventions, that box, darker green box above. In times past, like in 2008, the Democrat Party, for example, held precinct conventions separate from the county. And this last one in 2016, precinct and county conventions were combined together. But it's up to the party, it's up to the state executive committee to decide these things, not government. The legislature doesn't decide those things. But at these conventions or caucuses, meetings, they adopt resolutions, they select delegates, people to go to the next level to, again, make similar kinds of things. This is what we believe, these are resolutions, these are ideas that we want. Now, usually they aren't well attended, but in '08, they just came out of the woodwork. Let me show you an example of what happened in '08 when, of course, now when Obama was on the ticket, there was a lot of interest, and so this generated this caucus here. Deep in the heart of Texas.
I'm in Austin, Texas, at the second step of the Texas two-step. People have already voted in the primary today, and now they've come back to their polling stations to take part in the caucusing. There was unbelievable turnout tonight, and most people had to wait in line for over an hour.
We're overwhelmed with the turnout. It's great.
People are signing in and they have to prove that they voted, which means their voter card was stamped or they received a ticket at the time that they voted. Someone has to look them up on the rolls. It's kind of confusing because half the people in charge are Obama people and half the people in charge are Clinton people, and so there's some little jockeying going on there.
These are all the Obama supporters that are here to sign in. They're going to officially sign in support of Obama. And over here, you have the Clinton group, all the Clinton supporters, will eventually become the Clinton caucus. After everybody is signed in on both sides, the precinct chair will count the number of names for both sides and will determine how many delegates will go from each caucus. So once we finish signing in, everybody's going to move inside and we're going to start the official precinct convention. We will get together in groups and nominate and elect delegates to the county convention.
Have you ever done this before?
Never. This is my first time. I'm very excited about that. I have not.
Never. Have you lived in Texas for a while?
Yes. 63 years.
We're really excited because we feel like, the first time in like 20 years, Texas can make a difference.
This is my first time ever trying to vote. Yeah, so I made sure to take into this participation because you can't pass nothing like this up. First time in the history of African American candidate has actually been successful campaigning and racing towards being the next president of the United States of America. Second, because I'm looking for immediate changes in the United States government as far as economics, as far as media, as far as education, as far as healthcare.
There's a lot of things personally going on in my life. Student loans, parents having trouble with their mortgages, foreclosures. 4 years ago, a campaign of promises might have been all right, and 4 years from now, a campaign of promises might be okay. But as of right now, the country is in too bad of a state because of George Bush that we can't afford a campaign of promises. I want somebody who has a track record.
What do you think of the Texas two-step?
I think everyone needs to play. I think it's a little confusing. I mean, I get emails and stuff about it, and I still don't really understand what I'm doing, but I just know that I'm helping. So, I mean, that sounds really bad, but it's a little confusing.
I think it's going to discourage voter participation, and I think it needs to be done away with completely. I think we should be a primary state where we go in and cast a vote and let that be that.
I've been to caucuses before, but they don't usually get this much attention. So usually there's about 10 people. So seeing this is really astounding. It's really exciting to see so many people here willing to participate in both parts of the process. So I'm really excited that this is going on.
And you've been to this location before, the caucus?
Yes.
And what does it usually look like?
Usually there's a very small crowd of people gathered in a very large room. Sometimes there aren't even enough people to make an official caucus. So, like I said,
how many people do you need to make an official caucus?
4.
The floor is open for nominations of permanent chair.
Nominate Robin Snyder.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. And you can move into your caucuses now, actually, and start assembling the list of potential delegates, okay? So why don't the Clinton folks over there, the Obama folks over here?
29 delegates and 29 alternates?
Well, it's for the precinct. The precinct has been assigned the 58 people they can send to the county convention.
And I'm not sure there's 58 people here who are willing to do it. What happens then?
There's like a week or two where party tries to fill in some spots from the known voters in the precinct. That's the job that the normal precinct chair would probably manage.
Been here since just before the polls closed at 7.
So how long has that been?
I think it's going on 3 hours. I don't even know what time it is. It's like going on 3 hours at this point.
Yeah.
It's almost 10.
Do you guys feel civically engaged?
Yes.
Extremely.
Civically hungry.
It's
Possible that the Texas system is a little bit overly convoluted, but I think getting people together to elect if we just had a caucus alone, I think it would be a very important part. I think this is a great way of getting people together and inspiring them to be a part of the political process.
After a nearly 3-hour process of waiting in line outside, signing your name down and who you support, people behind me have finally gotten to the point where they've chosen the delegates that will represent them at the county convention. This district has chosen 29 delegates. 10 of them will represent Clinton, and 19 of them will represent Obama. It's a long and arduous Texas two-step.
Okay. Wow, that's the process they did use, but they didn't use it in 012, 014, and 016, or 018, I don't think, because it was a long process and convoluted, as they said in the video, confusing to many. And the party got embarrassed because a lot of the, during that election, Clinton won the most popular votes in Texas, but Obama won a lot of delegates in the conventions, the various levels, and at the precinct level. So these precinct conventions were perceived to be, whoa, we got to put the brakes on these things. And so it's up to the party how they want and have these things conducted. Now, the Republican Party, each county organization, they choose the date and location of the precinct convention. And the main business, again, is to elect delegates to the next level, the county or district convention, and to submit and debate those resolutions. A resolution is just a set of ideas about, we believe this is what we want to do when we get in power. That's all they are. This is what we will do when we get into power, guys. That's what they're essentially. And the county is similar. The county and district conventions. The district conventions is just the same word for county, but they give Bayer, Dallas, Harris, Tarrant district because they're big. They have a lot of population, I guess. So these county conventions occur on the date selected by the party's state executive committee. And they're held after the precinct conventions. And again, they elect delegates to the state convention and they pass resolutions. And they give you some more detailed information on page 144 about such as Republicans, they may select one delegate to the state convention for every 300 votes cast in the county or district for the party's governor nominee in the most recent general election. Democrats may select one delegate to the state convention for every 175 votes cast. So it's up to the political party, and they have a set of rules that they've developed In fact, I can show you the party rules of just the Democrat Party, and maybe this will be helpful, maybe not, but let's take a look at the Democrat Party rules here. Okay, go to our party, and then go to the party resources and go to the rules. Okay, here they are. Okay, so if we go to the rules, they're created by the final rules are created by the executive committee, state committee, and there they are. They were adopted in April 2020. And let's take a look. There they are. You can see that they're 42 pages in length. Hello. But these are the rules that membership and members and all these individuals have to follow. Now they have to comply with state law. As long as they comply with all the state laws, they can change things that they want. That's up to them. So here's their statements of beliefs, or their resolutions. We must join together with renewed faith in our country, a state, party to provide our people with a responsible government. For government functions best when it is closest to the people, and so on and so forth and so on. So they give you a lot of that. Then they go into the name of the party, or how they're going to organize, the general rules, the positions, and so forth. So this will be an example of that. Now, the county, the temporary county conventions look like something like this. This is the Bell County Convention in Bell County. This was in 2016. This would be the chairman. So they're meeting in a school gymnasium somewhere, or a cafeteria in Bell County.
However, they were asked to join in afterwards, like almost like you had to try to get more people to come on board as an alternate. Like, they should have done that prior if they had all those credentials, in my opinion. Because we were just trying to add other people as alternates who came in late, like just trying to fill positions. And these people are here. They were here since the beginning. They turned their paperwork in prior to or at the beginning of the meeting. So I feel that they should be the delegates. They should not be replaced with an alternate who came in after the fact.
Point of order. No, let's not do that, please, sir. Let's take care of it now, so then we can sit outside.
Second.
Point of information.
Well, you see, these are all precinct delegates, and you can see this is probably a secretary to the county chair right here, and they're trying to decide something to do with alternates, and they're debating this issue. So that's one of the things that would happen in a county meeting. But their main business is to elect delegates for the state convention. And the state convention, just what it means, you get delegates from all over Texas, from all counties and districts, which is those 4 big counties I mentioned. And that's held in June. In usual years, I don't know when do we hold it here. I think the Democrats held theirs in April, so that's probably when the Republicans held theirs. And that's where they certify the party members nominated in the primaries. They just officially say, yes, Mr. Secretary of State, this is our nominee, put them on the ballot. They draft and adopt the party platform. It's a resolution of ideas. They select a state executive committee, and they elect delegates in a presidential election year like this year to the national nominating convention. In fact, I had one video of a very interesting young man who wanted to be a potential presidential elector. So let me show you that real quick. This is an enthusiastic young man who's talking about why he should be.
Wondering why I want to be an alternate. But I want to be an alternate because I believe in this party. I believe in good morals, character, and Christianity.
He would be a
I
social
am from the
conservative.
great county of Bastrop County, established in 1836,
Southeast Texas.
and I'm proud to be a resident of that county. I have some experience. I'm the current president of the Bastrop County Young Republicans. I'm the current president of the Bastrop County Tennis Association. I'm the past president of the Bastrop County 4-H Club. I was the committee man on the Bastrop County Resolutions Committee, which is one of the best resolutions committee in the state of Texas. I'm a campaign manager for several candidates in Central Texas and have gone to thousands of houses for Republican candidates because I believe that we need to do good and get our people in office. I'm an intern to State Senator Jane Nelson at the state capitol. Now, the delegates that have been chosen are old people. So they're more wiser people, but I think that an alternate should be younger because we need future leaders who know what's going on, and I know what's going on. I believe in limited government. I believe in state rights. The great state of Texas is what we need. We are the best state in the union, am I right? I'm for traditional marriage, pro-life, all the way. Balance the budgets or abolish those agencies that EPA needs to go.
All right.
Reform entitlement spending. And as your delegate, I will get those Republican morals going. We will fight to do good and beat those Democrats. I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in the Constitution. And now I have 27 seconds. But I am a good Republican. And I want unity in this party. And coming to this convention, I realize, and no other delegate has said who they are going to support in the presidential election. But I will support Mitt Romney because I want unity in this.
Well, he lost him. So that was a bummer. But one of the other things that they do is during this election or this state convention, I'm sorry, is that they will meet and they'll decide on resolutions. This would be the resolution committees, and they will get into the issues and decide what they are. So they're at a hotel somewhere in a big auditorium here, and big convention center, a major city, San Antonio or Dallas or Fort Worth or Houston or Austin. They pick big cities because they got accommodations and big meeting rooms like this at convention centers. And they hold these conventions.
I've marked down SB 29. I second.
Got a motion for these rules and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you.
So that's how they would, this is by committee, these resolutions regarding specific things would be included in the party platform. Then they choose the delegates to the National Presidential Nominating Convention, and the selection of these delegates to the National Party Convention. Let's go over that. That depends on the delegates' support of particular candidates for the party's presidential nomination. Now, in a presidential preference primary, individual party members can vote directly for the presidential candidate of their choice. Delegates to the party's national convention are usually chosen according to the results of our primary vote. So if you're a Republican or Democrat, you vote for the candidate you want for your party, and it will break along those lines. So if 50% vote for Trump and 40% vote for another Republican, then that's the breakdown of the delegates. Now, states use caucuses like Iowa. The Democrats did that in 2008, as I showed you. They had that process. Now, the Democrats, they also do something different. They award delegates in proportion to the number of their supporters in attendance. And the national delegates are selected based on primary election results. And those delegates are selected by state senatorial districts and on an at-large basis at the state convention. Now, in recent years, they've combined the two delegate selection plans into a primary caucus described as the Texas two-step. 2/3 of the delegates were selected by primary election results. 1/3 were selected at caucuses during those precinct conventions. That's what I showed you at the beginning of that video. The Democrat National Committee adopted rules for 2016 that eliminated the Texas two-step for that year's presidential primaries, and in 2020. I don't think they have it this year either. In 2016, we sent 252 delegates to the Democrat National Convention, and it'll probably be the same. 150 supported Hillary. The rest that year supported Obama, but as you know, Hillary got Bernie Sanders, and Hillary got the nomination. Now, also the Democrats have something different in Texas and the United States. In Texas and the rest of the country, there are such things as super delegates. So what these are elected officials from the party that help choose the nominee. So in Texas, there's not many super delegates because most offices are not held by Democrats, although there are some congressmen. I believe 10 of our 36 representatives are Democrats, or maybe it's 11 or 12. They are what we call super delegates, and they would have a vote just like the other people you saw in these previous videos that were chosen at the state level to be delegates to go to the national convention. Now, the Republicans, they do this proportional from the results of the preference primary. So that's pretty much how they do it. They do tack on 3 additional delegates for each congressional district where there's a large majority of Republicans. And in 2016, 155 delegates were Republican from Texas. Or let me rephrase that, 155 were from Texas. These were the Republicans out of the total 2472 on page 148. And a majority of them supported Ted Cruz for president. So the delegates went for Cruz, but Trump had enough delegates from other states to win the nomination. Okay, well then let's move on then to the next side of the coin, which is the permanent party organization, that other blue side. And here we see the voters again in the party primary down there, and we vote in March, and we elect a permanent precinct chair for 2 years and a permanent county. They're responsible for recruiting candidates, devising strategies, raising funds, registering voters, that kind of thing. The precinct chair, they organize voting activities for the party within their precinct, going door to door, that kind of thing, handing out flyers. The county and district executive committees are led by the county chair, and they're assisted by the precinct chairs, and they make up the county committee, county executive committee. And the county executive committee basically does the same thing. They're the strategist. They recruit local candidates. They raise money. They staff the party's campaign headquarters, like we have one here in Webb County, a Republican and a Democrat one. Democrat one, I think, is near the Danny's, near Del Mar and McPherson. So that's where the Democrat. I think the Republican Party headquarters is on near the just north of the Lowe's on the freeway there on Sondario. I think so, next to the I-35 freeway. The Senatorial District Executive Committee, that's comprised of precinct chairs, and they do similar things. Now, the State Executive Committee for both parties, that's the highest permanent party organization created every 2 years. It consists of one man, one woman from each senatorial district, and there's 31 senatorial districts, so there's 62 members plus the 2 chairs, a vice chair and a chair. They have to be a man and a woman. So you've got 32 men, 32 women, and they're all elected at the state convention, and they are the guy that's the chief fundraiser. So these people are hardcore party people working for the political parties. They're the ones who sometimes develop these non-binding resolutions at this state executive committee, and these proposals are sometimes called ballot referenda by Democrats, propositions by Republicans. They just express the party's interest and favors. So they give you a couple examples on the bottom of page 149 and top of page 150. Okay. Well, all right. In the final analysis, the political parties are an integral part of our political process. Remember, parties are combinations of people who have a similar interest and want to control government by winning elections. We have a 2-party system in our country. Whoever wins the most votes gets to be the office holder. And we have different ideologies, and they're conservative and liberal. I think you know the difference. Conservatives, minimal role for government. Liberals, a greater role for government. Libertarians want a very small role for government. Some Democrats are neoliberals, which have some regulations, but not too much, but want a lot more social welfare benefits. The electoral trends in Texas, we've been mostly a one-party state. For a long time, from 1840s to the 1970s, we were a Democrat Party state, and there were just ideologies within that party, conservative and liberal. And then in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the parties became competitive, and since the 90s, we've been dominated by the Republican Party into the 21st century. So that was a realignment process. There have been third parties, there have been independents, but they don't enjoy the same success. Now, the political party history in Texas at first was based on personality. So we had the remember the pro-Houston and the pro-Lamar factions, and they were supported by people. And then that followed on with, you had Calhoun Democrats and Jacksonian Democrats. And then after the Civil War, you had Republicans and Democrats. Republicans were carpetbaggers, most of them, like E.J. Davis, who had been in Laredo, in fact, had been the customs collector, but he became governor. But some of the things they did were too heavy-handed, and not giving the franchise, the voting to the former Confederates, elevating people to office at the local level, but at the state level, meaning the governor would appoint city councils, commissioners, judges at the local level. And that offended many Texans. So the Republican Party really didn't take hold or take root here in Texas. And so the Democrats came back, and for 100 years, they were the party. There was conservative and liberal wings, but by and large, that was the party. Now, during the late 19th century, there were populists, there was the Greenbacks, the Prohibition Party, but they never got a majority or even a plurality of votes. But the Republican Party still hung around, mainly in the Galveston area and in the Hill Country, which is the most heavily and consistent Republican area of Texas. And then, beginning in as far back as the 20s, with the election of Hoover by Texas, even though he was a Republican. In the 50s, we elected Eisenhower, Texans did. And then in the 60s, we elected a senator, John Tower. And in the 70s and 80s, we began to elect Republicans like Nixon and Reagan. And then in the 90s, U.S. senators like Kay Bailey Hutchinson and so on. So by the 90s, we became a real competitive state with Democrats, Republicans. And by the late 90s, Republicans have all the state offices, governor on down to the comptroller, all the Supreme Court judges, all the Court of Criminal Appeals judges are all Republicans. And most state office holders and local office holders are Republicans. And even in Webb County, 30 to 40% of people will vote for Trump in this upcoming presidential election. And the party structure we've just gone over. There's two sides of this temporary party structure, which is up here on the left, the green boxes, and the permanent structure on the right. But it's all the base is us, the voters in the party primary, that light blue at the very bottom. That's you and me. We vote in March for our party nominee. And then if we want to, we can get more involved. We want to, we can attend a convention at the precinct, the county, or the state level. And we've got to do a little bit of politicking, go around and glad handing, and maybe even run for precinct chair or county chair. Precinct is just a couple blocks or a couple square mile area. Counties, well, you know what counties are. So study the key terms on the back of page 152 for the test. The learning questions and answers, that's a good way to start. Also studying and chapter summaries. And I think that's about it for today. Make sure you do any of the projects that are due. Make sure you do all the watch and considers, all the stuff on MindTap. And check out the Zoom things with Cengage. They have one more tomorrow, Thursday. If you have problems with Cengage MindTap, check out that, the times that they're available. I'll put that in the end. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I've announced that, but I'll do that as well. So have a good day, and we'll see you later.